All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is February 12th, now 13th, 2026. We're brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. We apologize for going a little bit later than usual, but today was one of those late days. So we are going to get going on this one entitled Technocracy because, well, things are changing. People are losing their jobs. People are having new things. There's new tech. Everything is changing. And, well, you better get down with it. So, yeah, late night. Sorry. This is the best I can do. Got home at 11:15, and I'm actually surprised. And I'm tired. So, we're not going to get long-winded. We're just going to go in and do it. So, we appreciate you being here. Check out the other links in the description. Please consider becoming a member, like Amanda, the happy hippie, and others. It really does help. So, all right, friends, let's get started on your crisis report because I'm tired and need to go to sleep. Love you. Here we go. All right. Is it not there? Ay. Hold on. There it is. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Yes, it's a tired one. It's a late one. Yes, much love and appreciation to you guys too. So, tired, but hey, crisis never stops, right? EU Parliament members get heated over a banner displaying by the ECR group that had anti-abortion slogans on it. International Auschwitz Committee is calling for a ban on the AfD party, largest opposition party in Germany, saying it is unbearable for survivors. U.S. warship and Navy supply vessel collide during the refueling in waters near South America. Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman says that most, if not all, professional tasks undertaken by white-collar workers will be fully automated with an AI within the next 12 to 18 months. Probably true. So, go change out HVAC cables. I don't know, whatever. Trump's approval, border czar Tom Homan announces that the deportation surge in operation in Minnesota will conclude. He also said, for those that say that we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data. Judge confirms Trump's $10 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC will begin on February 15, 2027. U.S. purchases and smuggles roughly 6,000 Starlink terminals into Iran after a riot and protest crackdown. First time the U.S. has directly sent Starlink into Iran. Ireland's proposed new framework for the defense forces includes mandatory gender diversity and unconscious bias training, new senior position of gender advisor, and fast-track citizenship for foreign nationals. So, it's funny, I went there 10 years ago, and I thought, man, it'd be cool to live here, like retire, come over, when I'm older. Retire in Ireland? No, not happening. Europe's aviation safety regulator, EASA, is updating its advisory for EU airlines to avoid Iranian airspace, extending it to 31 March 2026. Ursula von der Leyen says the EU's carbon market, ETS, has generated 260 billion euros. If you want to pollute, you pay. If you don't want to pay, you innovate. This will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't take a deal, according to Trump. His EPA has terminated Obama's 2009 endangerment finding declaration, which determined that CO2 and other greenhouse gases endanger public health and welfare and provided the legal basis for regulating greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. The United States has finalized a deal to sell Taiwan $44.4 billion of natural gas and crude oil $15.2 billion of civil aircraft and engines, $25.2 billion of power grid equipment, generators, marine equipment, and steelmaking equipment through 2029. Gerald Ford strike group ordered to relocate from Venezuela to the Middle East off the Iranian coast. RFK Jr. says, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. Let's just say PrepperNow is, he said similar things. Not anymore, but for the grace of God, there go I. Goldman Sachs top lawyer Kathy Rumler to resign after emails show close ties to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's Island Temple has been given a fresh coat of white paint. White House declares it's time to move on from the saga. $1 trillion has been wiped out from the U.S. stock market today. Switzerland is preparing to vote on a proposal to cap nation's population at 10 million in an effort to curb immigration. ICE has been authorized to covertly infiltrate and interact with social media accounts under a new program called Masked Engagement. New Mexico State Land Commissioner is calling for an investigation into allegations that children's bodies are buried at Zorro Ranch. United States Secretary of Energy Chris Wright and Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez were seen touring a Chevron PDVSA joint upstream facility. Now the American oil company and the Venezuelan state company are hand-to-hand exploring without restrictions the Venezuelan oil. Source from Saudi royal family told Israeli 12, I estimate that the negotiations will last more than 2 weeks. After that, there will be a limited U.S. attack, 1 or 2 strikes on Iran. This would be a temporary solution, not a radical one, and would not eliminate the Iranian threat to Israel in the long term. Amid tensions with Iran, the IDF has recently conducted exercises to defend Israel's gas platforms and offshore economic infrastructure. Amid rising regional tensions, Iranian TV broadcast a list of senior Israeli officials as potential targets. Prime Minister Netanyahu, Mossad Chief David Barnea, Defense Minister Israel Katz, IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir, IDF Intelligence Directorate, AMAN Chief Shlomi Binder, Air Force Commander Tomer Bar, IDF Operations Directorate Chief Yitzhak Cohen. Presenter issued a threat in Hebrew saying, we will set the time of your death. Wait for Ababil. So, nice. Okay. United States President Donald Trump says that negotiations with the Islamic Republic will continue. We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal for the first time. They've got Midnight Hammer instead. If they don't, it's going to be a very different story. I had a great meeting with Bibi Netanyahu yesterday. He understands, but ultimately, decision is up to me. Von der Leyen says energy prices have got to go down. They are structurally too high. If you want to pollute, you pay. If you don't want to pay, innovate. Delinquencies in commercial mortgage-backed securities have risen again in January, up 17 basis points from December to 7.47%, according to TREP. The increase was driven by the beleaguered office sector, which has a lot of distressed properties to work through, but is seeing improvements in fundamentals. Rate increase was driven by 2 exceptionally large New York City properties, Worldwide Plaza and One New York Plaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu landed in Israel. So, there you go. Russia is going to ship humanitarian oil to Cuba, defying Trump's tariff threats. Russia is preparing to ship that oil and petroleum products to Cuba as humanitarian aid, despite Trump and his threats of imposing additional tariffs to countries that supply fuel to the island. Moscow Times reported on February 12th, citing Russian media. Russia's embassy in Havana told a Russian media outlet that the delivery is expected in the near future, though officials did not disclose volumes. The move comes as Cuba faces a deepening fuel crisis, with imports largely halted for nearly a month and reserves close to exhaustion. Analysts cited by Russian outlets said Cuba could last no more than 20 days without new imports. Mexico, which sent a large cargo on January 9th, reportedly froze exports after Trump's warnings, while Venezuela, previously the second largest supplier, stopped shipments after its leader Nicolas Maduro was detained by the U.S. on January 3rd. Moscow Times noted that Russia's last major delivery to Cuba took place on February 25th, or in February 2025, when 100,000 tons of crude were shipped under a $60 million state loan approved by Putin at Cuba's average consumption of around 37,000 barrels per day. Experts said such volumes would cover only several weeks without strict rationing. So they're basically screwed. Puerto Rico's population is the fastest declining area of the Western Hemisphere. It's only going to get worse. Fertility rate is 0.88 per children per woman, and the island has more seniors than Vermont with half as many children, so they're screwed. With the Nimitz decommissioning, U.S. carrier fleet is effectively down to 10, stretched thin. Half are in current or upcoming maintenance. 2 are deployed. 1 is in forward deployed, and 2 are preparing to deploy over the coming weeks and months. Not much room for error. As I and others have reported for months, USS George H.W. Bush is deploying next from the East Coast. According to Wall Street Journal, the crew was told to prepare to deploy to the Middle East on a potentially expedited timeline. Surging at the expense of training has always been an option. So we'll see where that goes. Let's cover the financials, which no are not in front of you, but I have them here on my tablet. Apple stock fell 5% on the day, now on track for its biggest daily decline since April 2025. Coinbase says many users currently unable to buy, sell, or transfer crypto. Trump says he has to make a deal with Iran. U.S. copper stockpiles are exploding. Copper inventories at COMEX surged to a record $589,081 short tons last week. Since June 2024, copper stockpiles have risen 6,400% and now exceed the previous record of 399,341 short tons set in 2002 by 48%. Coinbase unexpectedly reports a large quarterly loss, posting quarterly EPS of negative 2.49 compared to expectations of negative 0.96. Net loss of $667 million last quarter alone. U.S. debt spiral is about to intensify. CBO projects that the U.S. budget deficits will rise by an additional $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years. This comes as government spending is set to be $1.3 trillion higher than previously expected. So we're screwed. Let's see where our metals friends are. They had a good day, right? Yep. They had a great day. All right, so silver's at 77. Our good friend gold is at 49.96. So both silver sub 80, gold sub 5,000. It's a psychological number. Friends, that's it. We're done. I got to go to bed. We appreciate you being here. God bless you all. Please consider becoming a member like John Evans or Jay Flo. Definitely helps. And we're going to keep going. Even when I'm tired, I'm going to come here and do the news. Okay. So that's all I got for you this evening. Links are in the description if you like what we're doing here. Besides becoming a member on YouTube, or consider becoming a member on Subscribestar or Locals, get the cool stuff, or get the Substack. Check that out. I think you'll like it. Other than that, most comprehensive news on YouTube. Crisis Report is out. God bless, friends. Have a great day.